The man who helped set up AJ Hackett Bungy concedes the company's finances were stretched to the limit before a more than $10 million government bailout announced today. The business has been identified as a strategic tourism asset as part of the government's $400 million tourism recovery package. It gets a $5.1 million grant and another $5.1 million is available through a loan. The company's already had more than $1.3 million in wage subsidies and has applied for the second round, but says despite today's welcome cash injection, it will still have to cut some staff. I asked AJ Hackett Bungy co-founder Henry Van Ash how much he applied for.
We asked for considerably more than that. $10 million over 2 years is a good outcome for us.
What did you ask for?
Nonetheless, I don't have those numbers right in front of me at the moment.
Oh, you must know, Henry. You would have been very much involved in the application.
Yeah, I was. It was probably about double that, but a bit less than double that.
So $5 million is a grant. What are you going to use that on?
Well, the big thing for us is making sure that we don't lose the jump masters that take a long time to train. And then obviously behind the scenes we've got, administration, health and safety people, our whole team behind that doing it. We've got all of our facilities that we need to maintain. It's just across the board really, but principally it's on retaining those crew.
So how many jump masters do you have?
We have about 60 jump masters, and that sort of 60. We've got amusement device people and NZ 5848 people. So we've sort of got two different groups: one who are principally doing bungee, and one who do the other the more mechanised pieces like some of the swings and zip rides and things like that.
So is it not possible to hibernate your business then?
We actually had put some of these businesses into, and some of them we've got 13 different activities across 3 locations. So we already had hibernated some of them and put a lot of it onto just operating part time basically.
So do you still reckon you're going to lose staff despite this money?
Well, yeah, we are. We had nearly 250 crew. So we're still going to be probably around about 100 crew to keep running even with this additional funding.
So $5 million is a loan. What are the conditions for that loan? When do you have to pay it back? What's the interest rate?
We haven't actually got a lot of detail on that as yet, but hopefully we won't need that loan. And if things go well through the next 12 months, we won't need that. But we'll just have to wait and see how things evolve.
So this application, you have to have exhausted all alternative options for funding support in order to qualify for money. So who did you try for investment, and did banks turn you down?
Well, I don't know if you've had any dealings with banks about money, but they're all pretty scared as well at the moment. So they're bringing on much more rigorous conditions into all of their loans because they don't know what's going to happen either. So we have had a lot of discussions with the bank over the last 3 months. And they have extended our facilities and they've brought in more rigorous conditions. We've been running bungee for about 11,500 days before this COVID thing came up, and then we had 50 days of no revenue. So it was a very, very costly period.
So did they tell you no more, Henry? They wouldn't help you out any further? They wouldn't extend any of your facilities further? That was at end of the road with normal financial institutes?
End of the road with the banks, yes.
So what would have happened if you didn't get this money?
Well, we would have just had to put everything further into hibernation and then just hope for the best.
What are you down to in terms of turnover as a percentage of pre-COVID?
Oh, we're down. We're down a lot. We're probably about 40% of our former revenues. This time of the year is usually a bit quiet anyway, but we don't know what's going to happen through July and August.
Can you survive without an Aussie bubble?
Well, we certainly can't survive in the same way that we were, pre-COVID. The Aussie bubble is going to make a big difference, and there'll be a lot of people from Australia who are keen to get over here and get travelling again.
How long do you reckon you would have lasted in your current state without this extra money?
I don't know how long this piece of bungee cord. We would have been able to keep sort of stumbling along probably, but we certainly would have had a lot more job losses, and and the uncertainty continues.
Were you insolvent before this money came through?
Well, not technically.
What does that mean, Henry? Not technically.
Well, technically insolvent. So, what's insolvent? If the bank says there's no more money or whatever. I mean, that's quite a tricky question, really. Were you insolvent?
Okay, were you up against the wall here, Henry, in terms of your cash flow?
Yes, we were up against the wall in terms of our cash flow.
All options exhausted, nowhere else to go.
Yeah, it's been a really tough time. It's the same for most tourism businesses are finding it extremely tough, and a lot of businesses all across New Zealand are having a tough time. And COVID's still continuing to accelerate around the world. So how do we know? There's a massive amount of uncertainty.
So it's not an overstatement to say that this is a lifeline for you.
Oh, it's definitely a lifeline for us, and hopefully we'll have people coming here to do a bungee with us, and the effects will flow on into the rest of the community.
And that is Henry Van Ash from AJ Hackett Bungy. We'll hear from the Tourism Minister, Kelvin Davis, after the 6 o'clock news.